Welcome once again. We are, as always, with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, which includes such places as Vermilion and Rustico, 2 locations. Greg, a James Beard Award nominee this year, also Sommelier of the Year from Food and Wine. Thanks for joining us.
A pleasure.
What's on tap this? Oh, I should mention we're not normally in the Majestic Lounge at the Evening Star Cafe, but we are here this time. Glad to be here. What's on tap this week?
Yeah, we took the show on the road.
That's right.
So we're doing crazy, rare, great, fantastic beer from New Belgium Brewing Company out of Fort Collins, Colorado. New Belgium is somewhat new to our area. It was something that was coveted for a long time, but it's finally gotten to us here, and it's great that they have, because this might just be my favorite beer. They make a rare beer called La Folie that's released once annually under the Lips of Faith series. So Lips of Faith is their name for these occasional beers that come out quarterly. It's 2 at a time, and this is one of the new ones for that. An absolutely astounding beer, and one of the first beers that really put them on the map for craft enthusiasts.
And I always think about New Belgium because I'm from Seattle, and when I would fly home, I would always be happy to go through the Denver airport because they have it on draft there.
Exactly. And unfortunately, they probably wouldn't have had this one.
But
on fat times. So La Folie is one of the finest blended sour brown ales, or oud bruins, in the Belgian tradition in the world, not just in America. And part of the reason for this is that Peter Broekart, former brewmaster at Rodenbach, which classically makes some great Flemish red and brown ales that are soured, is the brewmaster at New Belgium. And he has a really amazing master blender that works with him there. Her name is Lauren Salazar, and they're both outstanding and know exactly what they're doing. So this beer is sour brown. It literally tastes almost as much like wine as it does like beer, and this is because of the maturation process. So they have they have just hundreds and hundreds of French oak barrels that previously held Californian red wine. And so they buy these barrels used, and the reason why they like them used actually is because when you age beer in these kinds of barrels, the wine has kind of sucked out a lot of the tannins that can make oak-aged beers really dry. I actually talked about this with KBS last week. But so with this, it's going to soften the barrel a little bit, which is really nice. They initially, when they first started making this beer, they inoculated the barrels, i.e. they added some wild bacterias and things like that are positive, like lactobacillus, something that gives it this wonderfully refreshing tartness. It's what makes yogurt tangy, gives pickles their acidity. Really cool thing. And then they started aging these brown ales, these Belgian brown ales, in the barrels, and they've never re-inoculated. These are the same barrels. Things are still happening the same way. So they evolve a kind of house character. And what they do is they age all these beers, and then Lauren will go through and she'll taste them out and decide what's going to be perfect for the blend this go around. And what's really exceptional about this beer, and you'll see when you taste it, is that it doesn't have the slightly vinegar quality you see in a lot of Flemish red ales and brown ales. And that's because they are constantly topping up the barrels. So as beer ages, you get what's known as angel share. There's evaporation. Some of the water will evaporate out. Some of the alcohol maybe will go away, and there'll be less liquid in the barrel itself. So oxygen will encourage acetobacter, the bacteria that gives vinegar its vinegary tartness. So what they do is they see beer kind of lessening, they will add more beer in to make sure that they don't have that acetic character. And so what you end up with is something that's refreshingly tart, but also got a great sweetness up front, some dark fruit qualities, and really it's great for wine lovers.
Okay. It's got that familiar smell.
I should mention that it's really cool. They have 2 separate kind of threads of beer that they age at the brewery. One is a darker beer, and they call this Oscar, and that's what makes this up. And then one is a blonder beer, which they call Felix, kind of the odd couple thing. And so this is a blend from 1, 2, and 3-year-old Oscar soured brown ales. So what you get with this is that the 3-year-old is going to be obviously the most funky and tart. The 1-year-old is going to be hardly tart and funky at all, and then the 2 is somewhere in between. So by blending all 3, that's how she achieves this great balance.
So never the same thing twice.
No, I mean, she's definitely going for a character that she likes, and it's a good thing because it's always delicious. But you will notice subtle nuances and differences between them because these beers are living and they kind of do their own thing, and the blender kind of harnesses their qualities by blending.
I can't guess what you would pair this with for food.
Really? Oh, I think, well, this is a great one. You know, a lot of the things I think about when I think about pairing come from studying wine and wine pairing. So I think about this in a wine pairing way. One of the things to remember is acidity is great to balance salt. So you can do this with things that have a little bit more of a salty quality. So some seafood actually works really well, like meat or fish, but also steak. I mean, you kind of think of this as like a sauce, like a red wine would be. It's kind of cut into the richness of the steak. It's going to mimic the juicy interior and kind of sauce it as well. Another thing that I like with this too is think about it almost like dressing with like a salad, like a fresh green salad, maybe something with some bitterness like arugula or something like that. And you drink this along with it. It's almost like the dressing that the salad was calling for.
Now, the word sour, obviously, just from the start, probably puts some people off.
Right.
And some people just don't like the taste of this kind of beer, and that's probably not going to change for them.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing you would recommend people who came in here or came in Church Key to give it a try if you haven't before.
Right.
And you know, they can just get a taste of it. Probably,
and that's the cool thing.
If they're concerned about it.
There's one of the reasons why we offer tasters of all of our beers on draft and on cask is that you can just taste it. Because even if you don't love this style of beer, it's an amazing exploration, like sensory exploration. It's just cool to taste things like this. It's like, you know, people might not love stinky cheeses, but it's good to try it and see that it's out there, you know. And actually, this goes great. It's funky like a wild stinky cheese, like a poisse or something. It's amazing with this. But yeah, I mean, I will say though, I've had people who hate bitter beers or like IPAs or hate sours. And, you know, they just kind of drink all the other styles, and eventually they're looking for something different, and they come back to that thing they thought they'd never like. And I have some hopheads that I know that used to just say, the one thing I hate about beer is its bitterness. So be open and definitely try things because you'd be surprised what you're going to like in the long run.
I mean, and to that point, the range of tastes for, say, IPAs is all over the board.
Yeah,
I mean,
is.
you could drink 20 of them and they're not be the same at all. And
Absolutely.
I don't drink a lot of sours, but I've got to imagine it's similar with
exactly.
sours.
I mean, you've got sours that are bracingly tart. You've got delicately tart ones like Berliner Weiss and things like that that are just kind of quenching and refreshing. And then you have ones like this that have a nice balance to them. So that's a great point because you don't want to judge all of them by one because there are so many major differences between these larger categories of beer styles.
All right, Greg Engert, thank you as always. Appreciate it. Please drink responsibly and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.